TV Ramchandran, thank you for those warm and generous words. Jim Morish, Bhatnagar, and Mustafa Wajid, distinguished members on the dais, representatives of government in various departments, including telecom, information technology, and urban development, experts, telecom service providers, various academicians, invitees, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is for me a great pleasure to be present here in Bangalore today to inaugurate the first India IoT Congress being organized here. It is, to my mind, a very significant event, and I would like to congratulate IET, a global group of engineers and technology experts represented worldwide, for setting up the India IoT panel and for organizing the India IoT Congress. Looking at the program schedule which you've drawn up for the next 2 days, the way technical discussions are to be held on various verticals, including manufacturing, including health and retail, it gives us confidence that this conclave of experts, of doyens of the sector, will come out with outcomes and recommendations which would be very useful for taking the Indian IoT ecosystem forward. You heard from the Minister of IT, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, and his commitment to technology, to leveraging it for development and for benefit of the people. I also bring to you the good wishes of Shri Manoj Sinha, who also would have loved to be here but could not make it due to pressing engagements, but is committed to make sure that communication develop in a way that IoT becomes a reality, and we have the state-of-the-art machine-to-machine policy, machine-to-machine communication policy, standards, and the ecosystem. As far as I am concerned, it's always a pleasure to come to Bangalore, and finding myself in the midst of such a wide and vast variety of expertise and experience in the area of Internet of Things makes it for me a matter of very special pleasure. I'm absolutely privileged and honored to be in your midst. I would start by saying that it is very appropriate that this Congress is being organized at this particular period of time. And I mention this because of the huge IoT opportunity that exists in India. All of us believe that technology can change the world. Many of you are working to make it happen. And I'm sure IoT will not only change the way we live, but also the way we interact and we work. And it will be a cornerstone of leveraging technology for better development. We are also aware of the promise of information and communication technology. I'm mindful of the fact that the World Bank sometime back came out with a study which showed that in a developing country like ours, a 10 percentage point increase in broadband proliferation can increase the GDP by 1.38%, a significant increase. And we hope that this will soon be a reality. The growth of broadband will soon be a reality and extend to different parts of the country. The promise of technology to address the divide amongst the people is another aspect which excites the leadership in India. Our Prime Minister is committed to leverage technology for making life better for every citizen, and even in the farthest of villages. The Minister of IT spoke of using technology to bridge the digital divide. And we do believe that it can address the asymmetry of information that prevails today, the divide between the educated and the uneducated, the literate and the illiterate, the higher income groups and the others, and lead to addressing the asymmetry of knowledge and opportunity which that asymmetry of information often results in. So we are extremely excited of the possibilities and promise of leveraging technology for growth of and development of the country. Also, this excitement is a result of seeing things actually happen in the last decade or so. Many of you will not realize that when India got its independence in 1947, we had only 82,000 telephone connections, the entire country of more than 300 million people. In 50 years, from 1947 to 1997, that increased to 20 million. But thereafter, with technology, this number has exploded to 1 billion plus. And today, even those who are at the very bottom of the income pyramid can afford to remain connected with the network, thanks to some of the policies which the regulator and which the government has come out with from time to time. As far as the internet is also concerned, we see a huge growth. The first 100 million took us 18 years. The second 100 million users came in 3 years. The third 100 million in 18 months. And the pace is growing. And it is estimated that of the next billion users in the world, 400 to 500 million will be from India. So this is something which shows how we have been able to leapfrog stages of development. We went from no connectivity to almost ubiquitous mobile connectivity, connectivity on the go with the help of large mobile networks, brought in place by private investment, enterprise, and the best of technology and practices from across the globe. However, there has been a problem. We've got the technology, we've used the technology in the area of communication, but we've been able to do it with a phase lag. We got 2G 20, 25 years after the rest of the world, at least after the developed world. We got 3G more than a decade after it had become ubiquitous in the US, Europe, and Japan. 4G, maybe 5 years after the global launch. In 5G, we have the chance of being there with the rest of the world, of bridging this gap that has prevailed, and maybe even acquiring leadership positions in certain areas as we enter into an era of Internet of Things and talking and connected devices and machines. It is in this context that we hope that Internet of Things will lead to harnessing the benefits of technology across various sectors, from health to human resource management, from transportation to power sector, from smart cities to agriculture and manufacturing and beyond. This is the hope which the country has. And we also believe that IoT, which is estimated to have the IoT era, which is estimated to have something like 50 billion maybe connected devices in the next 5-6 years, will unleash for India a business opportunity of at least in the range of $15 billion. The global trillion-dollar opportunity will, for us, become a multi-billion-dollar opportunity with high growth rates and employment potential. The Prime Minister of India, who is, as I mentioned, committed to harnessing technology for benefit of citizens, speaks of the need for transformational change. To leapfrog from where we are to where we aspire to be, we have to have transformational rather than incremental change. And I think IoT is one area which has the potential to make this kind of transformation little difference to the lives of Indians. All of you, many of you, are practitioners of IoT. The machine-to-machine communication connects objects and machines to the internet. It converts them into from inanimate objects to intelligent assets that can not only communicate with each other and with people, but also lead to processing through analytics of large volumes of data and take decisions which often are delayed or neglected in the normal course of things. The era of IoT, which we believe is close, therefore excites, for these reasons which I mentioned and many more, most Indians, and we are hopeful that with the ecosystem being prepared for it, we will see a very vibrant Internet of Things ecosystem in India very soon. Looking at the opportunity which we believe is before us, let me try to share with you some of the things which the government has done to develop a welcoming ecosystem for Internet of Things in India. The first, of course, as the Minister of IT also mentioned, is that the Department of Telecom has come out with a machine-to-machine roadmap which seeks to bring about synergies between regulators, between standard bodies involved in the development of standards, and between manufacturers and prospective users, so that the associated industries could benefit from this. In addition to this, the second thing which has happened is the setting up of the Telecom Standards Development Society of India. It is working to develop M2M standards, which are India-specific, but are in tune and sync with international standards. And third thing is, which is, I believe, of significance, is that CDOT has demonstrated the world's first open standards-based M2M communications platform. This one M2M compliant platform was showcased sometime back in Korea, and we believe that it sets the path for CDOT to do various pilot projects using this platform to take the technology and the platform forward. This is as far as the Department of Telecom is concerned, but as I mentioned, leveraging technology is an objective which pervades the whole of government. The Department of IT has developed an IoT policy, which is in the draft stage, which is under consultation, where inputs are being received. And the purpose, and this IoT policy has 4 major pillars. The first is to develop capacity and IoT-specific skills in India, which is something which we have seen the shortage of in the telecom and the IT sector sometimes, and we don't want it to be repeated in the IoT ecosystem. The second is to facilitate research and development for technologies and Indian-specific products. The third is to set up incubators to move from ideas to products in a public-private partnership model, and the unveiling recently of the EarnIT NASSCOM Center for Excellence for IoT in Bangalore is one such step in this direction. Lastly, we are also looking at leveraging the Electronics Development Fund, which is a fund for funding venture capital funds, to provide an avenue for funding of startups which may be working in the IoT space. And perhaps most importantly, the Urban Development Department has come out with an announcement of setting up 100 smart cities in the country, a roadmap for doing it, the process as to how this is to be achieved, and budgetary allocations of more than $1 billion this year to make it happen. So things are happening across government, and all of it is in preparation to create an ecosystem which is welcoming, which is business-friendly, and which helps and increases the ease of doing business in India in this area. However, this is not all. There is also a lot of work in progress. Many of you may be aware that we, the Department of Telecom, has come out with KYC norms for SIM-embedded M2M devices. Draft guidelines were published in August, and we are in the process of interministerial and stakeholder consultation, after which these are to be finalized. Registration guidelines for M2M service providers have also been showcased and should be finalized soon. And thirdly, we are looking at a 13-digit numbering scheme for IoT, for SIM-embedded M2M devices. Once a number of implementation issues which have been highlighted in this area are addressed, we should be able to showcase the numbering plan as well. Lastly, the Department of Telecom has requested the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, our regulator, for recommendations in the area of quality of service standards, of international roaming system, and the requirement of additional spectrum for an IoT ecosystem in India. And as soon as these recommendations are received, we hope to come out with specific decisions on all of these areas. I have at some length dwelt on the opportunities as well as what the government is trying to do to make this opportunity a reality. This is, however, not to say that everything is done and sealed and delivered. There are still a lot of challenges. There are challenges around interoperability, and you understand it better than I, the complexity of the system, the multiple devices, the software, the different array of manufacturers for various kinds of applications makes it an extremely complex system. However, we believe that an open standard system, scalable, interoperable is required, and we are aspiring to create it so that communication can be seamless for making the IoT ecosystem flourish. The issues of privacy, the issues of data security looking at the fact that there would be huge number of devices and there would be possibility of introducing malwares and damage to devices, etc., is also being looked at, along with technical features like the reduction of costs, the increasing of battery life, and finally, perhaps very importantly, developing skills in partnership with the Skills India mission and the Telecom Sector Skills Development Council to provide adequate IoT skills for this system to flourish and grow. I know I have spoken for longer than I intended, but in conclusion, let me highlight a few points and a few messages which I would like all of you to take with you. One, that India is a promising IoT business destination with humongous opportunities for international investors. Two, the mantra of this government is promoting the ease of doing business by simplifying procedures, by introducing reforms which makes life simpler for industry. And the IoT system would also benefit from these. Thirdly, efforts are being made across various departments of government, various institutions, as well as partnership with the private sector, to put in place an ecosystem which is reliable, efficient, interoperable, and affordable to create a throbbing IoT industry in India. Fourth, we have a vibrant smart city program in the stage of conception, which will soon move to implementation and will then expand a lot of business opportunities for Internet of Things. Fifth, the way forward has been designed to ensure that there is partnership amongst various stakeholders between the government, its departments and agencies, between academia, between research bodies, both local and international, as well as with industry, so that we come out with a solution which is perhaps closest to the optimum as possible. In addition, we are coming out with various facilitative policy measures, and I'll allude to only one of them, the virtual network operator, which could help give a fillip to the IoT ecosystem. India, as many of you might realize, did not have a reseller license. We had a telecom operator's license and an infrastructure provider's registration system. We have introduced a new license for virtual network operators, which could help the IoT ecosystem as well. Finally, let me once again, before I end, congratulate the organizers, wish that the participants have a very productive 2 days, and convey to you on behalf of the Government of India our assurance that we believe that we will work shoulder to shoulder with every organization which seeks to be engaged in the sector. There is an old Indian saying, which I am fond of repeating, that if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. And that is the vision of government for the IoT sector itself. We do also believe that events like this, the work being done by the India IoT panel, and the recommendations which will flow from this event will help us get suggestions, get inputs, which would create in the next few months and years an ecosystem which is the best in the world. It is our ambition that first we will be best, then we will be first. Finally, before I end, I'm sure that, And I would personally be looking forward to the recommendations of this meeting. But I would like to end also with a word of caution. There is a need to test various recommendations, various ideas and suggestions on the touchstone of pragmatism, on implementability, and of relevance for the country. There is often the energy which is spent in organizing these kinds of get-togethers often is so much that after it is over, there is a lack of follow-up, both in government as well as in the private part. And it's said that in these kinds of gatherings, often more is, when all is said and done, more is said than done. I hope the recommendations that come out from here would be those which could be actioned, which could be implemented to create a first-class IoT ecosystem in India. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for your patience and presence. And I wish you all a very successful 2 days in the first Indian IoT Congress. I'm also delighted to know from my intelligence sources, it's not been told to me officially, that this is going to become an annual event. So the worry that I have that it becomes more is said than done will perhaps be taken care of if we can get this kind of expertise to relook, to revisit, and to continue to give suggestions to make things better for the IoT system. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much.